The Galactic Alliance had always been a symbol of dominance, an unstoppable force that swept through systems like an unrelenting storm. For years, their armies crushed resistance with technology so advanced it bordered on magic, their soldiers towering figures clad in impenetrable armor. To them, Earth was nothing more than a quaint relic of a bygone era, a planet populated by primitive beings who clung to outdated weapons and strategies. The Alliance soldiers mocked the humans, their laughter echoing through the comms as Earth's forces struggled to mount any meaningful defense. Their commanders, lounging in floating command centers, barely paid attention to the skirmish. They were conquerors, after all, and this was just another planet in a long line of easy victories. Stone throwers, one soldier sneered, watching human infantry scatter under a barrage of plasma fire. Do they even know what real weapons look like? Another snickered, adjusting his visor to zoom in on the battlefield. They probably think their sticks and rocks can hurt us. Pathetic. Among Earth's forces, morale was crumbling. The cities were burning, and every counterattack seemed futile. Commanders barked orders over crackling radios, their voices tinged with desperation. But amid the chaos, there was one figure who moved with quiet purpose. A sniper, crouched in the ruins of a collapsed building, surveying the battlefield through a scope. They were nameless, faceless, and utterly focused. The sniper's equipment was a testament to humanity's ingenuity. The rifle, while primitive by galactic standards, had been modified to near perfection. Every component had been tuned, every imperfection accounted for. In their hands, the weapon was not just a tool, it was an extension of their will. Through the scope, the sniper tracked the alien commander, a hulking figure encased in shimmering armor. The commander stood arrogantly at the center of the battlefield, issuing orders with the confidence of someone who believed they were untouchable. Around him, his elite guard patrolled, their shields glinting in the sunlight. The galactic soldiers continued their advance, pushing Earth's forces further back. They laughed and jeered, firing indiscriminately, their superiority evident in every move. They didn't even bother to take cover. After all, what could the humans possibly do to them? The sniper remained still, invisible among the rubble. The commander was the key. Take him down, and the enemy's coordination would crumble. But this was no ordinary shot. The sniper would have to account for distance, wind, and the shimmering energy field that surrounded the commander like a second skin. The aliens' laughter grew louder, carried over the battlefield like a taunt. It was the sound of victory, of absolute confidence in their superiority. But the sniper wasn't listening. Their focus narrowed, their breathing slowed, and their finger hovered over the trigger. The galactic soldiers might have been laughing now, but they didn't understand. They hadn't learned the one lesson that had defined humanity's survival across millennia. Underestimate humans at your own peril. The battlefield was a wasteland of destruction, littered with smoldering craters and the shattered remains of Earth's defenses. The air was thick with smoke, the distant screams of retreating soldiers barely audible over the deafening hum of alien machinery. The galactic forces marched forward with cold precision, their towering mechs and infantry cutting through Earth's resistance like a blade through paper. Victory, to them, was inevitable. From a vantage point high above the chaos, the sniper adjusted their scope, their breathing steady despite the overwhelming odds. They had no reinforcements, no backup plan. It was just them, their rifle, and the faint hope that a single well-placed shot could change the course of the battle. The wind howled through the broken structure where they lay hidden, but the sniper ignored it, focusing instead on the battlefield below. Through the scope, the sniper could see the carnage in chilling detail. Human soldiers, outgunned and outmatched, fell one by one as they tried to hold their ground. Plasma bolts lit up the sky, leaving streaks of light as they tore through anything in their path. Earth's heavy artillery, primitive and cumbersome, fired sporadically, barely making a dent in the enemy's lines. The galactic soldiers advanced with an almost casual arrogance, their armor glinting in the dim sunlight. The sniper's crosshairs shifted, sweeping across the battlefield. They tracked an alien squad moving in formation, their movements precise and mechanical. One of them paused, scanning the area as if sensing something, but the sniper didn't flinch. Patience was key. Recklessness would only end in failure. The rifle stayed steady, the crosshairs moving past the squad and locking onto the alien commander once again. The commander was flanked by heavily armed guards, their shimmering energy shields forming an impenetrable barrier. He barked orders, his voice booming across the battlefield through an amplifier. Each command brought more destruction, more chaos, as Earth's forces crumbled under the relentless assault. The sniper adjusted the zoom, analyzing every detail of the target. The energy shield shimmered faintly, pulsing in a rhythmic pattern. It was a sophisticated defense system, designed to repel even the most advanced projectiles. But even the most sophisticated systems had weaknesses. The sniper's hands moved instinctively, making micro-adjustments to the rifle. Wind speed, distance, humidity, every factor was calculated and accounted for. The commander's shield pulsed again, and the sniper noted the timing. It wasn't perfect. For a fraction of a second, the field flickered as it recycled energy. It was a small gap, barely noticeable, but it was there. Down below, the galactic soldiers continued their advance, their laughter audible through intercepted comms. "They're running out of places to hide," one of them sneered, kicking over a human barricade. "This planet will be ours by sundown." The sniper remained still, their breathing slow and controlled. Their finger hovered over the trigger, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. It wasn't just about one shot, it was about making it count. The sniper exhaled slowly, their breath barely audible in the quiet space they had carved out amid the ruins. Every muscle in their body was relaxed, every sense sharpened to a razor's edge. The battlefield below was alive with chaos, but none of it mattered now. There was only the target, the moment, and the shot. There I stayed fixed on the scope, tracking the alien commander's every movement. The shimmering energy shield surrounding him pulsed rhythmically, a near-perfect defense against any attack. But it wasn't flawless, and the sniper had already found the gap. The flicker was brief, less than a heartbeat, but it was enough. Timing would be everything. The calculations ran through their mind in rapid succession. Distance, over a mile. Wind speed, steady but unpredictable in gusts. Gravity pull, atmospheric drag, the interference of the shimmering shield, all accounted for. The sniper adjusted their aim fractionally, every movement precise and deliberate. The rifle, old by galactic standards, hummed faintly as the shot was prepared. It wasn't the technology that mattered, it was the one behind the trigger. The alien commander stood tall, issuing commands with the confidence of someone who believed themselves untouchable. His guards formed a tight perimeter, their weapons scanning the area with mechanical efficiency. He gestured with a clawed hand, directing an artillery strike that sent a massive explosion rippling through Earth's defenses. The comms intercepted his voice, cold and mocking. "Show me what your pitiful species can do. Entertain me before you die." The sniper ignored it. Their world had narrowed to the crosshairs and the faint pulse of the shield. The next flicker was approaching, and everything hinged on that single, fleeting moment. The shot would have to be perfect. The angle, the timing, the power behind the bullet, all aligned in an instant that could not be recreated. Their finger tightened on the trigger. The rifle kicked back with a deafening crack, and the bullet tore through the air, a small projectile moving with deadly purpose. It was an ordinary bullet by galactic standards, but in the hands of the sniper, it was a masterpiece of precision. Time seemed to slow as the bullet traveled, cutting through the wind with a faint whine. It struck the shield just as it flickered, slipping through the gap with millisecond accuracy. The energy field flared violently, its defenses compromised for the briefest moment. The bullet hit its target, a small, unarmored section of the commander's neck, just above his collar. The alien froze, his voice cutting off mid-command. His guards turned too late, their confusion evident even in their rigid movements. The commander fell, his massive form crumpling to the ground with a dull thud. For a moment, there was silence, the battlefield stunned into stillness. Then the chaos erupted. The galactic soldiers faltered, their formations breaking as confusion spread like wildfire. Earth's forces, sensing an opening, surged forward with renewed ferocity. The balance of power had shifted with a single, impossible shot. The battlefield, once a scene of unrelenting destruction, now stood in uneasy silence. The alien commander's body lay motionless, a stark contrast to his once commanding presence. Around him, the galactic soldiers hesitated, their movements uncoordinated for the first time since the invasion began. Their leader, their symbol of invincibility, was gone, felled by a single bullet from an unseen enemy. The retreat began slowly, a few soldiers pulling back, unsure of how to proceed without orders. Then the panic spread, and what had been an unstoppable advance turned into a chaotic withdrawal. Earth's remaining forces, battered but emboldened by the sudden shift, pressed forward. They moved with renewed purpose, pushing the invaders back step by step. The sniper watched through the scope, their expression unreadable behind the mask. The mission was complete, but there was no celebration, no sense of triumph. This was just another shot, another task accomplished in a long and brutal war. They began to dismantle their rifle with practiced efficiency, each piece disappearing into a worn satchel. Across the battlefield, whispers of the event began to spread among Earth's soldiers. The commander's dead, someone murmured over the comms, disbelief clear in their voice. One shot. Took him out clean. The message repeated, gaining momentum as the truth sank in. The sniper's actions had turned the tide of the battle, and though no one knew their identity, their legend was already taking shape. Far above, aboard the Galactic command ship, the news reached the remaining officers. The holographic display of the battlefield flickered, showing the disarray among their forces. Panic rippled through the ranks as they realized the implications. If the humans could take down their strongest leader with such precision, what else were they capable of? The aliens who had once laughed at Earth's resistance now found themselves re-evaluating their enemy. But for the sniper, there was no time to dwell on what had been achieved. They moved silently through the ruins, their steps careful and deliberate. The weight of the rifle on their back was familiar, a constant companion in a war that seemed endless. They avoided the areas where Earth's forces were regrouping, preferring to remain unseen. Their role wasn't to bask in the aftermath, but to prepare for what came next. Back in the cities, humanity celebrated. News of the sniper's shot spread like wildfire, lifting the spirits of people who had long believed the war was unwinnable. Artists sketched faceless figures in the rubble, and whispers of a hero who could change the tides began to circulate. Some called them a ghost, others a savior, but none knew the truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the battlefield, the sniper paused on a ridge. They glanced back once, their gaze sweeping over the smoldering remnants of the fight. The alien forces were gone, but the war was far from over. Adjusting their pack, they turned and disappeared into the darkness, ready for the battles still to come.